So there was a suggestion made long ago to love thy neighbor. And you might have noticed when you're loving people, it feels pretty darn good. What do we do most of the time, though? Judge our neighbor. It is a favorite activity, very, very popular. And people attack themselves for judging rather than getting behind all of the thoughts that are involved in judgment and allowing the feeling to release. So there's something very important to understand. You can't stop the judgments. They're automatic as long as you're carrying feelings on those frequencies where those thoughts show up. So when I have the thought, this person is an asshole, that is on a frequency that I'm carrying. It's a feeling frequency. If I've released that feeling frequency, that thought's not going to show up. So there's this delightful saintly woman who I love very much. Her name is Byron Katie. And she came up with a worksheet which just gives us full permission to judge our neighbor. Finally, it's okay. Finally, I'm allowed to have all these thoughts and to let it all out. Absolutely. So that worksheet is available in the description. And what we're going to be looking at is her 4 questions that she presents for judging your neighbor. You fill out the worksheet and then you go through these questions with your answers. I bring her 4 questions into the releasing process, the letting go process. I sneak it in there sometimes because I just love it so much, because it's about looking at a thought and then noticing that thought's probably not even true. And then noticing the feeling behind that thought and giving ourselves an opportunity to relinquish that feeling. It's a very empowering process. And then when we shift frequencies from where we were, oftentimes the situation looks totally different. She calls that a turnaround. I might call that the Holy Spirit presents a different perspective, a higher perspective. Your higher self has an answer that seems truer, has a thought that seems truer. So we go through and we finally allow ourselves to judge without attacking ourselves for doing it. The judgments happen all the time. And these thoughts show up. Behind those thoughts is a feeling. And that feeling can be let go of. What would it be like to be free of that feeling? So for this today, we're going to keep it simple. We're not going to go through the whole worksheet. Again, that worksheet's available in the description. We're just going to take one person, notice a thought that we're having about them, question that thought, and notice the feeling behind that thought, and give ourselves a chance to let it go. So where this differs a little bit from maybe traditional Byron Katie's the work is I'm going to give you time to really feel that feeling, really let it up, and allow that feeling to go. The letting go process, as I facilitate it, gives you lots of time to let this stuck energy behind all these judgments, behind all these thoughts, to come out and to go. So that's going to be a little different if you've done the work before. And feel free to incorporate that in your Judge Your Neighbor worksheets or not. It's fine either way. So for this, take a neighbor, a coworker, a friend, a family member, a child, a parent, someone in your life where you're feeling other than loving with them. It could be everybody, just pick one. And so take your person And you could even write this down if you like, though it's not necessary. Could you notice some other than loving thought? Could you give yourself permission, uncensor, and what do you really think about them? What if you were to not modify anything that comes out of the unconscious? Could you just notice any negativity there, anything other than love, any non-love thought, some judgment about them? And could you allow that thought, just for now, looking at it, and is it possible that that thought isn't true? Just, is it possible that that thought isn't true? And if you get a yes, great. You might get a no. Could you absolutely know that that thought's true? And this just takes some humility. No, I couldn't absolutely know that that thought's true. Yes, it's possible it's not true. And if you get there or not, could you check in with how you're feeling when you're thinking that thought? Just open up and really come to experience that feeling. Allow that feeling to be there. And you can even let that thought drift by and drift off. Because when we're thinking, we're not really allowing that feeling to be there. And so it stays stuck. So could you just ignore the thought for right now and let yourself feel that feeling behind that thought, behind that judgment? And could you open up and give this feeling a chance to go? It just needs your permission to be there, to be felt, so that it goes. Let yourself feel this feeling just for now. Just unpacking it. This one feeling is behind thousands of judgments, by the way. So could you just let that one feeling start to dissipate, start to go, just by giving it permission, feeling it? And you could ask yourself, would you be better off without this feeling? Would it be okay to not have this feeling and not have those judgments? To be free of those thoughts? And if that would be okay, if life would go on, maybe even a lot better, could you let that feeling go? It's just a choice. Would you let that feeling go? If you could. And letting go is an opening, an allowing. Holding on is a tightening, a gripping. Would you let it go? Would you let go of that feeling? Behind all those thoughts, behind that judgment. And just giving yourself a chance to lighten up, to see things differently. And you could even ask the Holy Spirit or ask your higher self, is there a truer thought about this person or this situation? Is there a thought that might resolve this judgment completely? And just see what comes up. Now, if you've released the feeling, it might come up quickly. If that feeling's still running, then it might just need some more time to go. If you can't even remember the thought you started with, well done releasing. If you found a thought to replace the one you were thinking before, well done. This is just giving ourselves permission to see what's been operating in the unconscious. So taking that same person or someone else, if you feel complete with the first one, could you just notice any other negativity with them? Any other than love thoughts or feelings with that person? And could you give yourself permission? Just uncensor. No more needing to modify anything that's coming up. Because the only reason we're bringing this up is to let it go. So could you look at that thought, that judgment, whatever came up with that person that's other than love? And could you just check in, is it possible that that thought or that judgment isn't even true? Just, is it possible that it's not true? That might take some humility to just acknowledge maybe that thought, maybe there's a possibility it's not true. And could you go behind the thought and notice how it feels? Could you allow yourself to feel the feeling behind the judgment, behind the thought? Perhaps anger, fear, pride. But you don't need to label it. It's just a feeling. If you label it, it's fine. Could you notice where that feeling's been hanging out and feel that feeling, letting the thoughts now scroll by without following them, and just dropping in, being present with the feeling that's been there when you've been thinking that thought, witnessing that judgment. And could you open up and let it be just a feeling? Just a feeling. And could you let that feeling run without trying to change it or make it different? Just give it a chance to release. We spend so much time thinking that these feelings get stuck and can't release. Could you open the door, feel the feeling, give it a chance to release? And could you even check in if you'd be okay or even great without this feeling or without that thought or that judgment? Would life go on okay or even awesome? What would it be like if you released this feeling and let go of that thought or that judgment? And if it seems like you'd survive or even thrive, could you release that feeling? Release that thought from your unconscious, subconscious banks. Would you release that feeling? Set yourself free, set this other person free to live on in perhaps harmony. It's just a choice. When could you release that feeling? And just notice if there's another thought available for you now with that person. Or maybe if that thought you had originally, that judgment, just dissolves. If it's gone, if you can't remember the thought or the judgment, great. Though you could also ask the Holy Spirit, higher self, is there a truer thought? Is there a different perspective about this that would resolve this situation or this person for me? Byron Katie calls this turning the thought around. Just opening up and seeing that there might be some other thought options that might even seem truer or be truer. A higher perspective. And could you just open up to another way of seeing things, of a turnaround in your life with this person? And, sometimes we've got quite a lot of baggage, quite a lot stored up. And it's okay if there's more. So to just be compassionate with yourself, patient with yourself. And you could just check in with that person again. Maybe it's the same thought. If you feel clear with that person, you might switch to another person. And just noticing and allowing, really giving permission to judge the crap out of them. Uncensoring, unmodifying. What do you really think? If you just let it roll out without modifying it, censoring it, could you notice any judgment, any negative thoughts about this person? And first off, could you just let that be okay, just for now? The only reason we're bringing it up is to surrender it, to give it up. And now, sometimes we may not want to give it up. That's okay. And just taking one of those thoughts that came out of the unconscious, the subconscious, one of those judgments, just taking that, and could you just open up to the possibility that maybe that thought isn't true? Is it possible that that thought isn't true? And could you notice the feeling behind that thought, behind that judgment. When you're thinking that thought, experiencing that judgment, witnessing it, can you notice the vibration, the feeling in your field? And oftentimes we try so hard not to feel feelings that they get stuck and pile up. What happens when you open up, just welcome this feeling, and let the thoughts scroll by without tapping on them, engaging with them, and getting more and more thoughts? What about just welcoming that feeling, opening up, noticing it, allowing it, letting it run? When a feeling isn't fought, when it's just allowed, it can go. Sometimes it goes quickly, sometimes slowly. We've piled up a lot of feelings. So could you just give this moment, this feeling, this chance right now? Just feeling it, ignoring the thoughts. And you might feel it lighten up. Maybe it comes up more. And what would life be like without this feeling? Without that judgment, without that thought? Would life go on or even improve? And if you get a yes, could you just surrender that feeling? Surrender that thought? Just turn it over, just surrender it, give it up. Give it over to a higher power. You never have to surrender that emotion or that thought. It's just an option if it would improve your life, or if life would still be okay without it. Would you surrender this feeling and that judgment, that thought to God? And just noticing any shift. There might be more. And it's okay to just keep that feeling running, keep surrendering till it runs out. And you can ask higher self, ask Holy Spirit, ask divine guidance. Is there a truer thought? Is there a higher perspective? A different way of looking at this? What's a turnaround for the thought I had? If you can even remember the thought. If it's gone, well done releasing. And just opening up to higher guidance, not separate from you, always with you. Is there a higher perspective on this, a different thought that's truer? And could you allow yourself to go forward with this person, forward in your life from a higher perspective? It's just a choice, and there could be more charge and more judgments. That's okay. We've been piling this stuff up all our lives. So just to continue to notice the thoughts, drop into the feeling, check in if you'd be okay without that thought and without that feeling. Let the feeling run. Let it go. Ask higher self, Holy Spirit, divine guidance for the truth, for a higher perspective. And watch what happens for you in this relationship and all your relationships. Because when you release on one person, when you turn it around with one person, all the other people you were meeting and relating to on the same frequency, things are going to shift for them too. So I'd like to thank Byron Katie for her wonderful work, and Hale Dwoskin for the Sedona Method, and Dr. David R Hawkins for letting go the pathway of surrender. If you'd like more assistance with letting go of some junk with people in your relationships and experiencing a higher perspective, I'd love to help you. You can join us at the link in the description for Letting Go University. It's free for 2 weeks. You can come to, we have 140 sessions a month. That includes these, but we got 4 other sessions every day. And I'd be happy to answer your questions and work with you more deeply. And we're going to check in with Zaina, looks like was interested in rejection, releasing on that. We actually had somebody in the Letting Go University group who's been working through that a whole bunch recently. So would love to have you with us. Otherwise, I'll do a release on rejection tomorrow. And thank you so much for watching. Thanks for your releasing. Thanks for shifting the vibration of our field, and have the best day you can.